Back in 1967, a French theorist named Guy Debord dropped a book that, honestly, is still scrambling brains today, The Society of the Spectacle. Now, this isn't some dusty academic text, not at all. Debord wrote it as a weapon, a tool for understanding the strange world we live in, so we could actually change it. So let's get into it and try to unpack his biggest ideas.
You know, it's interesting. Debord doesn't even start with his own words. He kicks things off with his quote from the philosopher Feuerbach. And this right here, it's the perfect setup for his entire argument. It basically says, we've become a society that prefers the photo of the meal to the meal itself, the copy over the original, the appearance of things over what they truly are. That's the key that unlocks everything else.
And there it is, thesis number 1. The book has barely started, and he hits you with this. Everything that was directly lived has receded into a representation. Just think about that. He's saying that our actual lives, our relationships, our work, our experiences, are no longer something we live firsthand. Instead, they're all being mediated, packaged up, and then shown back to us as images. It's like our real lives have moved behind a screen. Okay, so what is this thing that's turning our lives into a collection of images? Debord has a name for it, the spectacle. But, and this is super important, he's not just talking about TV or the internet or advertising. The spectacle isn't the device you're looking at right now. No, it's a social force that runs way, way deeper.
Debord gives us a really specific definition, and we've got to get this right to understand the rest. He says the spectacle is not a collection of images. It is a social relation between people that's mediated by images. So it's not the pictures themselves, it's the fact that we now relate to each other through those pictures. The images have become the middleman for all of human society.
Let's put it another way, just to be crystal clear. The common mistake is thinking the spectacle is just, the media. But what Debord is really saying is that it's a whole social relationship, an entire way of life. This difference is everything. The spectacle isn't something you just watch. It's the world you actually live in.
And that world is very, very real. See, the spectacle isn't just an idea floating around in our heads. Debord says it's a worldview that has become concrete, objective. It's been materialized. It's in the architecture of our cities. It's in the logic of our economy. It's in our daily habits. It's not just a theory. It's the physical reality around us.
So how in the world did we get here? Well, Debord traces this historical shift, this degradation of what it means to be human, and it completely changes our sense of who we are.
He breaks it down into 3 stages. First, way back, fulfillment was all about being, who you were, your character, your place in the community. Then, with modern capitalism, it all shifted to having. Your value was determined by the stuff you owned. But now, we're in the final stage, appearing. It's not what you have that matters, but how your possessions look to others. It's all about the image.
And this is where it all links back to the economy. This shift isn't some random accident. It's the logical conclusion of our economic system. As Debord puts it, the spectacle is capital accumulated to the point that it becomes images. All that value, all that wealth, has to go somewhere, and in our age, it transforms into this endless parade of images that covers the surface of everything. Now, the spectacle doesn't just reshape our social lives and what we value, it goes even deeper. It fundamentally alters our experience of time itself, turning it into just another commodity, something to be bought and sold.
Debord borrows this absolutely brutal line from Karl Marx to drive the point home. In the spectacle, time is no longer your own. It's not a space for living or growing. It becomes this abstract, empty, measurable thing. Every hour is just like the last, a unit of production or consumption. And in that process, human life gets totally devalued.
But of course, living in that kind of empty, commodified time would be unbearable. So, to make it work, it gets a disguise. Debord calls this disguise pseudo-cyclical time. It's basically a fake version of the old natural rhythms of life, like seasons or harvests, but this new version is completely manufactured by the system. I mean, just think about our own lives. The work week, the weekend, the annual vacation. These don't come from nature, right? They're artificial cycles designed to manage our labor and our spending, to keep the whole system running smoothly. They're sold to us as little slices of freedom, but they're really just another product. All right, so let's pull all these threads together. We've got the spectacle as a social relationship. We've got it changing our values from being to appearing.
And we've got it colonizing our time. So what's its ultimate role? What's the end game here?
This brings us to what might be the most crucial line in the entire book. The spectacle isn't just some flashy decoration on top of the real world. It's not a distraction. As Debord says, it is the very heart of this real society's unreality. It is the engine that actually produces and maintains the fake world we mistake for reality.
So, what's its job? Well, first, it's a total justification for the way things are. It constantly shows us this one dominant model of life as if it's the only one that's desirable, or even possible. And second, it's a constant affirmation of choices that have already been made for us. What kind of work to do, what kind of things to buy. It basically just nods along and says, yep, this is all good. And this is where things get really weird, because it leads to a total inversion of everything. In a world this saturated by the spectacle, truth and lies get all tangled up. Debord says that in a world that's truly upside down, any little bit of truth that might pop up is instantly captured, repackaged, and presented as just another part of the big fake show. The true becomes just a moment of the false. And all of this leads to a final, pretty uncomfortable question that Debord's work basically forces us to ask ourselves. The spectacle's fundamental message is simple. What appears is good, what is good appears. It just wants us to sit back and accept it, to be passive spectators. So we have to look at our own lives and ask, where are we just watching? At what point did we trade in the messy, complicated business of living for the clean, simple act of watching? That's the question he leaves us with.